And welcome to the A&P. It is Patrick McCallum and Alex Johansson. We'd like to welcome you to our second episode, Logical Discussions about the State of the World. Today we're going to be discussing Irish politics, the formation, what it looks like, how it works, and some of the most interesting political parties on the planet. Patrick, take it away.
No problem at all. So, where would you like to start? I can see there you want to start with Janet Aaron, one of our upper houses.
Correct. Well, you
Of the
said there was
Oireachtas.
also the Dáil as well,
Yeah.
but it falls under a total Oireachtas, is what you said?
Oireachtas.
Oireachtas. Because
Yes.
the EA sounds like, oh, of course it does. Why wouldn't it? Oh, of course it does.
So we have two houses. We have the Seanad, as you see there, and we also have our main law body of Dáil Éireann. So we have an upper house and a lower house, very much like the British model of the House of Lords and so on.
Okay, so what is Dáil Éireann actually, if it were to be said in English?
Right, Dáil Éireann is where all our laws and government laws are passed. So that's where our Taoiseach, which is our Prime Minister, it's probably the easiest way for people to understand, is elected, and that's where our main government of Ireland is.
So the Taoiseach is a member of that body, the Dáil Éireann?
Yes, Dáil Éireann, yes.
Okay, and how do we figure out who the Prime Minister is? Is it the most TDs in the House and the Dáil Éireann then get to appoint a Prime Minister, or is it more convoluted than that? I'm assuming since it's Ireland, it's probably more convoluted than that.
Yes. So there's a Taoiseach and a Taoiseach. So the Taoiseach is what you would think of as a Prime Minister. Then the Taoiseach, which would be the Deputy Prime Minister. So Prime Minister, Deputy Prime Minister. But they'd be rolling positions then within a coalition of parties. At the moment, we have a coalition of Fine Gael, Fianna Fáil, and Independents. So they would sit down and say, for 2 years, I'm going to be the Prime Minister. In the next 2 years, you'll be the Prime Minister. That's the way it normally works. Be a rolling position.
The buddy system.
Pretty much, yes. The buddy system.
Oh.
Yeah, you scratch my back, I scratch your back, and we all be friends.
Oh, right. There's no way that could ever run afoul of the needs, wants, and desires of the Irish people. I'm certain of it.
Well, we're just we're used to coalitions over here, so we're not too upset by it. We understand that.
In what situation would you not have a coalition government? Would that be if someone had more than 50% of the seats in the Dáil Éireann?
Yes, they would have to have an overall majority. We have 174 seats in Dáil Éireann, so they would have to have over 90 seats to have an overall majority. But that hasn't happened in a very, very long time.
I don't know that you're that good at math, actually. I think the number's a little bit different.
No, at the moment, I'm just looking at the numbers. Our government has an overall majority. Yeah, we have 174. Okay?
Right. So it would be 88. 87 would be exactly 50%, and then 88.
Yes.
If you had 88 TDs, then the Taoiseach would be of that party, and it would not be a coalition government.
That would be called a narrow majority. Because, ministers could flip to the other side, as you know.
Right.
That can happen. That has happened in the past, where the backbenchers, as we call them, not the ministers, they'd be elected as TDs, but they wouldn't be in charge of any government department, so they'd be called backbenchers. They have flipped before in the past against the government. So that has made a lot of coalitions collapse. So that's why they like to have that nice buffer zone.
So 90 gives you a bit more of a guarantee that if you have a majority rule as opposed to a coalition government, then you're going to be more secure in your position.
Yes, that's the best way to put it. But that's why you always try to go for the 90 number.
So you have the deputy and you have a chief deputy, right?
Yeah.
If you have a coalition government, then we decide between us who's going to be the boss and who's going to be the underboss, or is the chief deputy picked from...
In this case, at the moment, the way the leadership is broken down since our last election. Micheál Martin of Fianna Fáil is now our Taoiseach.
Okay.
And the Taoiseach is Simon Harris. Then you have a government chief whip, which is Mary Butler of Fianna Fáil. And then the deputy chief whip then of the government would be from Fine Gael. So that's where they normally would split it among themselves.
Right, but you said the coalition government also includes the independents, so
They are at the moment supporting the government. There's 5 independent TDs supporting the government, but
and that
at
gives
the
them that
moment,
magic 88 number?
yeah, at the moment there's a bit of a debate which will happen when the government sits again in a couple of days' time, where they're trying to come up with a special positions for these independents. So we call special ministers.
Oh, special minister plenipotentiary of
I'm
absolutely
really, by the way,
nothing.
yes.
Oh,
They're going to be, I'm really trying not to laugh, as they say. And it's a new position. It's no extra pay. It's just a little title they get. And, I'm really trying not to be sarcastic, as you would sound.
well, I've heard, Patrick, if you polish a turd.
Yeah. Well, there are 5 independents are going to vote with the government to keep their majority. At the moment, 91. Because if those independents drop out, that will drop the government from 91 down to 86, which is not even a narrow majority. They're well below forming a government.
So that triggers an election?
That would trigger an election automatically, yeah.
Oh, yeah, they don't want that. And who are the 2 big boys in charge right now? You said
Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael.
Well, I'm sure Sinn Féin is very happy about all that.
Sinn Féin actually held their own again in this election. They got 39 seats. They did quite well.
So they're the leader of the opposition.
That's why, yeah, they're the largest party in the opposition. So Mary Lou MacDonald is leader of Sinn Féin. And she's the leader of the opposition parties, which would be Sinn Féin, Labour, Social Democrats, People Before Profit. The Green Party is still around with 1 seat. There's a few then small independents. Like Independent Ireland then would have 4 members. On TheA would have 2. And then there's 7 complete other independents then as well on top of it. So there's 82 seats then in opposition. It's, as you see, we have a lot of different parties compared to the United States.
Right. Whoosh. Okay. So
yeah.
Is there a president of Ireland?
Yes. I have a president of Ireland.
And what is the president of Ireland? What is the president of Ireland's job?
Well, the president of Ireland is basically looks over I would say he'd be very much a figurehead. He is Supreme Commander of our Irish Defence Force. He's Commander in Chief of the Irish Defence Force. But his duty is oversee laws as well. So if a law is passed by Dáil Éireann, it's sent to the Taoiseach to sign. The Taoiseach goes to the president. The president signs off and sits down, and if he agrees with the law, he'll sign it off, and that's it. But the only time the president of Ireland can challenge a law brought by Dáil Éireann is if it goes against the Constitution of Ireland. He can trigger a constitutional challenge to the law in the High Courts. It just happens very rarely in Ireland, but he has that power. And our president, actually, I think he makes more than your president in the United States, actually.
I'm sure he does, but I don't think our current president requires a paycheck from the government. I think he has independent sources of wealth.
Funding.
Yes, funding. Of course. Funding is the word.
Funding.
All right, so when was your constitution ratified or established?
The Constitution of Ireland?
Yes.
It was ratified in 1937.
Was that the July 1st date, or was that the December date you were talking about?
It was finally finished up in July, and then it was brought in then in the 29th of December of the same year.
1937.
Yeah.
Okay.
It took a while to get our constitution or our houses together, and it takes a while for a government to find its feet. Same when you were writing your own constitution after your own war of independence. It took a while for you to hammer it all out as well.
It took a hot minute. It did.
Yeah.
There were some articles of confederation, and then there was some other business, and then there was a ratified constitution. Yep.
Yeah.
So,
People forget how long it takes to actually do nation building, as they say.
well, yeah, it's work.
Process.
It's definitely
Yeah.
work. The founding fathers of our Constitution did a lot of work to make sure that thing
Yeah.
looked the way we wanted it to look. So, all right. So, do we have anything else to talk about with the Oireachtas or the Dolern or the Shinat?
No, that's the brief. That's a very brief overview. But I will include links down below for all the resources of all the houses.
Excellent. The pages we're putting up here, you'll be able to see and check them
Yeah.
out. So, all
And
right. So,
I'll add more information as well. Just to
oh, please do,
integration
please
stuff.
do. All right. So,
Yeah.
the first one we're going to discuss is Féin.
Oh, Fianna Fáil. Yes.
Oh, Fianna Fáil, of course. It's Fianna Gael and Fianna Fáil. I mixed them
Yes.
up.
Fianna Gael and Fianna Fáil.
Fianna Gael, Fianna Fáil. Got it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Watch
So this
me
is Fianna Fáil now you're looking at right now.
as I Fianna fail. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's Micheál Martin, or Taoiseach, as you can see right there.
Mm-hmm.
He's our Prime Minister, is the best word to describe it.
Okay.
So at the moment, they did actually, surprisingly, I thought they wouldn't do as well as they did, in fairness, in the last election.
Oh, we can't look at him. There's a failure. Error 400 fail.
The government website's after breaking down.
Oh, man.
Wow. That's our Prime Minister's page. And that sums up a
400
lot.
error. That's amazing.
His own personal page is broken.
Well, somebody should write a strongly worded letter.
Yeah. Yeah, this is Fianna Fáil's main page. As you can see, there's Micheál Martin.
Mm-hmm.
And you can see there are policies. As I say, all these links will be included down below.
Okay.
So at the moment, they did very well in the last election. They got 48 seats. They did surprisingly well, actually.
That is amazing. Oh, there he is. Look at his smiling face.
Yeah.
You.
Yeah, he's all happy. Very nice guy.
He's the Prime Minister of Ireland. I'd be happy too if I was the Prime Minister of Ireland.
As I said, Fianna Fáil is a very interesting history. One of our older parties next to Sinn Féin. Sinn Féin would be our oldest party, and Fianna Fáil would be next.
Okay. So, what is Fianna Fáil about?
Well, Fianna Fáil is founded by Eamon de Valera.
Mm-hmm.
They were, after the Irish went over to Britain, and I'm going to do a very brief overview. We might go into more in another episode. So, a very brief overview is we went over and negotiated Treaty of Independence with Britain at the time,
okay.
Irish Free State.
Mm-hmm.
So at that time, everyone was Sinn Féin.
What year?
So this is after our War of Independence. So we didn't sign until 1922, but there were negotiations going on for a while, about a year and a half.
Okay.
Front negotiations and back-end negotiations. So this is going to be a very brief overview right now. We'll probably go more into the Troubles in another episode down the line.
They were troubling.
But this is going to be very brief.
They were troubling? The Troubles?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So, we had the Irish Free State. And the Dáil Éireann was our main house from 1922 to 1937. They were our main governing body after we negotiated our treaty and our civil war. So Sinn Féin was one party that split into a small party, which were anti-treaty, which were Fianna Fáil, led by Eamon de Valera at the time. They fought against the pro-treaty. But that's how the Irish Civil War was. By the way, as I said, we'll go more into this when we go and do the Troubles episode. We'll get in better there. Then, after our Civil War ended, Fianna Fáil, led by Eamon de Valera, formed a government and signed the treaty in the end. Everyone knew that we had to do the treaty at the time. It was not a very fair treaty, but unfortunately that was the treaty that was on the table. once the Constitution of Ireland was amended in 1937, the Irish Free State changed over to two house system, as you would just seen, Shannon and Dáil Éireann, upper and lower house.
Under the Oireachtas, right?
Yes.
Okay.
We formed the houses of the Oireachtas. Very much based on, we don't like to say it, but very much like the British system. Because it works. That's pretty much. You have to remember, we were a young state at the time, so.
Right, and Israel's model is much the same as your own. So, yeah.
Yes. And a lot of people don't understand that most democratic systems are very similar to each other in a lot of ways. So we're a republic in every way. Where now, Fianna Fáil was always in power in some way for the last century or so in Ireland, in coalitions or overall majorities. But they've been around for a very, very long time since the formation of our state. Now, as you can see all their different policies there as well. They've changed. Fianna Fáil has changed quite a bit over time. They used to be a very centre-right leaning party. Now a lot of people say they're kind of gone away from their roots, but that's everyone's different point of view, as they say.
I believe the LGBTQI plus network might indicate that they're no longer center-right. That would probably be an indicator. That's considered a left-leaning function. As far as I'm aware, that's considered a left-leaning function. So,
yes, we have. When we talk about right-leaning in Ireland, we don't think the extreme right. We're more right-leaning.
Okay.
We don't actually. Well, later on, I'll show you the difference when we start going through the different parties here now in a moment.
Okay.
So Fianna Fáil has changed quite a bit, as they say, over the years.
Right.
Yeah. So next up we have Féin. We'll put up Fine Gael there now next. They're the next major party in the Dáil.
How many seats did they get in the most recent government? It said.
But in the most recent government, they got 38 seats. So they got 10 less than Fianna Fáil. But Fine Gael have always been there as well. Pretty powerful party in their own right.
And how are they different from Fianna Fáil?
They're more lean. They're more, well, they're very rightly, they're a bit right leaning themselves as well in a lot of their policies over the years.
Okay.
They're Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael, even though they say they're different, they usually sing off a very similar hymn sheet.
Ah.
Very similar hymn sheet. They say they don't, but it is very similar. Even when you see their election manifestos, anytime there's an election, they're usually very, very similar. Even though they do say, a lot of people probably in the comments will disagree that, they're completely different. They're different in name, yes, but their policies are pretty very similar. They had a very interesting leader themselves there recently enough. Leo Vragra was a teacher and a Taoiseach. He LGBT member of the Fine Gael party.
Okay.
Yeah, so he was their leader there recently enough. So he was one of the first openly one of the first openly gay representatives in Ireland.
Interesting.
But others, yeah. So since then, yeah.
Okay. So then that brings us.
Actually quite.
Go ahead. That brings us to what?
No, but as they say, he did come out. He was elected. He was a very young representative, actually, pretty young. He's actually retired from politics now since he's still taking a complete step back. That's why at the moment, Fine Gael is being led by Simon Harris.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Don't see any pictures of.
I've also Simon Harris. Just go to our people there at the top. And if you
Our
click
people.
ministers,
Here we go.
yeah, and then at the top, ministers. And then you'll see a pit. No, see at the top where there's find your local representative. There we go. Click on ministers there.
Alrighty.
There we go. There's Simon.
You said he's not
He's
the one
the
who was the
Taoiseach.
Taoiseach, right? Or he's the
No, he's a
Taoiseach.
Taoiseach.
Okay.
He's a Taoiseach, and the Taoiseach then is Micheál Martin. So Taoiseach, Taoiseach.
Okay.
Yeah. So he's the junior partner. It's the best way to put it.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah, it's probably the easiest way for most Americans or Europeans to understand. He's a junior partner.
So, Mr. Harris is from Wicklow, Clonbrofey,
very
Dublin,
nice.
Southwest.
Yeah.
Longford,
As you
Westmeath.
click on them, you can see his entire profile. So we have
Oh, here we go.
pretty open, and you can see, as you can see, his page actually works.
Apparently, it does.
Yeah, it works. Yeah,
like
it works
it.
very well. Yeah, very well done.
There you go.
Maybe
Phone number and all.
Fianna Fáil can get maybe Fianna Fáil can ask Fine Gael for a bit of help with their website. You know, they're in coalition.
The coalition government should be working together. Right.
Yes, even down to the mundane task of websites.
So Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael are in charge with the independents, but the opposition is Sinn Féin. Here we are.
Leader opposition is Sinn Féin. Yep.
Okay, so Senator Conor Murphy appointed Sinn Féin Seanad leader.
Yes. Okay. But Sinn Féin are actually quite a nice. I've always had a leaning towards Sinn Féin over the years. They're very interesting policies, especially around housing, health, social networking. They're actually quite
well, is that interesting as in it is advantageous to the Irish people, or is it interesting in that it's pie in the sky? What?
It's a mixture of both. A lot of their ideas are pie in the sky. They kind of know that themselves. A lot of them are, we would like to do this sometime policies, but they have changed quite a bit over the last couple of decades. Very much so down the south. They're I would consider centre-left, very left-leaning party. I think when people say in the States or abroad, when they think of Sinn Féin, they think of the Irish Republican Army, which is right in their past. But they're trying to change that image over the last number of years, where they're trying to become a party of the people. They're very, very interested in, trying to improve healthcare, workers' rights, affordable housing is a big issue at the moment. They're trying to push through, where they're trying to up our housing ownership. They have a lot of interesting ideas. I find they have interesting ideas. Very, very interesting. If you go to the top there, you can see a lot of they're very an interesting party over the years. Very interesting.
But no longer an Irish Republican Army thing, right? We're distancing ourselves from that.
They're trying to move away from their. Yeah, they're trying to distance themselves from their past.
Got it.
Down the south, and in the north, and they're both the one party, but northern politics and southern politics were slightly different. Dealing with two different houses. Actually, as I said, when we go into the episode about the Troubles, I'll explain the difference.
Right. So there's 174 representatives in the Dáil. How do you get elected to the Seanad?
The Seanad then is the government themselves at the moment, Fine Gael and Fianna Fáil, and will elect 11 members of the 60 members. But the government at the time is always guaranteed those 11 seats. It's up to the government parties then to break it down the way they want it.
Mm-hmm.
And then the rest of the seats then are voted on by university graduates. So that's why there was a vote on the Shannon recently enough. Well, when I say recently, it was a couple of years ago, where they were talking about getting rid of the Shannon. There was a big debate about getting rid of the Shannon completely. Then it was time for us to kind of move forward in time.
Mm-hmm.
So about 12 years ago, I get the date in October 2013. There was a referendum about the Shannon to see if it's put forward to the people, because in Ireland, if any amendment to our constitution has to be done by referendum, can't be done by either house.
Okay.
I presume it's the same in the States. If you have to amend the constitution, that's
going to take a hot minute. That is
right.
Yes.
We'll go with the easier version. We'll go with the easier version. We'll go with the easier version over here. So.
Yeah, there's lots of voting and lots of fun that happens when you want to amend the Constitution. Oh. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Over here, we do it by referendum.
Okay.
It's usually if any amendment is put forward to the Irish people.
So 49 of the seats are voted on by university graduates.
University graduates. There's all of different. For the most part, it's all university graduates. That's why the Shannon has always been a sticking point in Irish politics for the last couple of decades.
Okay.
A lot of people want it gone. A lot of parties in opposition, Sinn Féin and Labour and so on and so forth. A lot of parties want them. Then it's a complete waste of money and time. Where then there's people on the other side where it's very good for discussing ideas of law and how to improve our laws and how to improve the lives of the people.
So you don't want anybody polishing up they don't want anybody polishing up the policy. They think TheA&P is going to be just fine without any kind of oversight at all.
Yes, that's overall what they think.
So a unicameral form is generally going to be less than a bicameral function, right?
Mm.
Does that make sense? So if you only have one house and no one can oppose them or say, hey, like there's no check or balance, right?
Yes.
So it would
seem to keep it.
Well, yeah. Irish people are fairly pragmatic from what I've seen. Like, I don't want one entity making all the rules, especially if the current government then switches to the opposition and then I'm not, in line with them. I at least want there to be some check or balance on, say, Fine Gael or Fianna Fáil or Sinn Féin or whoever happens to, be holding the levers of power, right? So.
Yeah, but the funny thing, it was actually Fine Gael and a Labour coalition that had put forward that referendum.
Interesting. All right.
In 2013, yeah.
So
it was passed by 51 to 49.
Oh, jeez. Of course. All right.
It was very, very narrow to keep it.
Nice. So next we have Labour, which is not to be confused with the UK's Labour Party, right?
Yeah. The Irish Labour Party I've always quite liked over the years. They have interesting policies as well. So they're like, I don't know, a lot of people will probably give out saying they're very much like Sinn Féin, but Sinn Féin and Labour usually sing off roughly the same hymn sheet as well. Won't go for the same issues slightly differently, but they still are very much about building more, in the last couple of years, building more houses, getting proper affordable daycare, helping the working people.
Mm-hmm.
But what they found, when I can remember when the last time they were in government, with Fine Gael, they were quite an interesting duo. They were very interesting. They flip flopping a lot of issues that they went into that coalition with, and they bent the knee quite easily to Fine Gael at the time, and it was a shame because they went in. The people that time voted him in, because we have to remember it was 3 years after a lot of austerity started in Ireland. 2008 crash. Okay. In 2011, when they were voted in, they were given a chance. They were given a mandate because their main slogan at the time, I remember, was Labour Lisbon's way or Labour's way. They were going to go over and talk to the European Union and the European Central Bank, seeing if we can get better deal than the austerity budgets that were given to us by Europe at the time.
Okay.
So they went over. First they went over to the European Union. Then they were told by the European Union, we're giving you pretty much 0% loans to bail you out. You can't do any better than this, than a 0% loan. But we still need you to cut back in your spending. As one German minister said to the Labour negotiator at the time, at that time, a normal equivalent to their TD was paid less than 20,000 a year, where he pointed over saying, you're getting 70,000+ after expenses. Your government spending is still out of hand. And plus we kind of ran away with ourselves, but there was a lot of hard times that time. A lot of hard times. They're only, I would say, coming around with it in the last 5 to 6 years.
Well, the first thing you see after their graphic is they're accusing Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael of misleading voters on housing. So it doesn't look like they're for a thing. It looks like they're against something someone else did, right?
Yes. Yeah. It's very easy to show a stone because Fine Gael and Fianna Fáil were very honest about the housing figures. Then in the last couple of years, we have only built between 35 to 50,000 houses per year, fluctuating between those numbers, housing units.
So we'll say in 3 years, that's roughly 75,000 with single-family homes or apartment complexes for multiple families? Or
they classify them as housing units. So that could be anything from a one-person flat to a house. Roughly there and thereabout. They're saying our building industry can only ramp up so far year on year.
Right. So in the last 3 years, we'll say it's 75,000 units at a base, right? And how many have you had immigrate into your country in the last 3 years, roughly?
In the last year and a half, going on nearly 2 years now, of Ukrainians, we have over 130,000.
So 130,000 people to fit into 75,000 housing units.
Yes.
That sounds like bad math. That doesn't seem like your government in any form is maintaining the promises
they made. We're facing a massive housing crisis at the moment in Ireland, because it's not just the Ukrainians. You've had other 100,000 others from either the asylum seekers and so on.
Right.
As you can see, it's very bad math on behalf of our government. But of course, if you step outside that narrative, you go into a territory of being called alt-right. But as you can see, the maths kind of speak for themselves, really, don't they?
I don't have a dog in the fight, except that it's a G7 country, and I care about people in general. So it doesn't look like your government is doing the things they need to do to ensure the safety, health, and welfare of your society in general.
No. At the moment, they're, how can I put it? They're trying to not look bad in the face of Europe, is the best way to describe our last couple of governments. But especially since 2008 onwards, they're trying to be always the best in class when it comes to Europe. If, say, France promised to take in 20,000, Ireland will promise to take in 40,000. But we're always trying to outdo the goodness in Europe. We're always trying to look good.
But isn't that self-destructive to Irish culture? Doesn't that? Okay, so it waters everything down. So Ireland becomes less Ireland. It becomes some kind of awkward hodgepodge.
Yes, in the last census, it's 80% Irish, 20% other. So, and those figures are changing over time. Well, it'll be interesting to see the next census now in a couple of years.
I can't guess you'd have more than 70%.
I say conservatively, I would say about 70%. I would say 70%. I would say about 70%.
And when does it become so watered down that Ireland is right? But when does it become so watered down that Ireland isn't Ireland anymore?
That's the question. When do you say no? When do you say enough is enough? It's kind of scary, really. I feel
Well, right,
sorry for a lot
but
of young people.
a border represents a difference in concepts, right? So the Republic of
Yes.
Ireland is not the UK, right? And we have a
No.
line that says you're the UK and we are Ireland and this is our culture and these are our values, right? Not that the UK's values are
Yes.
bad or Ireland's values are bad or their culture.
Mm.
It's not that they're different,
Yes.
right?
We're both English speaking countries, but we have different. Of different. We're same in a lot of ways, but problem is we have a soft border between the south and the north. We don't have a hard border between north and south of Ireland.
Okay.
So think of us in the south in the European Union,
Mm-hmm.
and because of Brexit, the north is part of the United Kingdom.
Right.
Of these as well. Now, what's happening is they either fly. A lot of people fly into Belfast. Apparently, I'm going to say there's some big quotations. Apparently, just in case that anyone decides to say anything. Apparently, people fly into Belfast and then get the bus down to the south.
Okay. And then their IDs aren't checked in any way?
Well, it's a soft border. I can literally drive. I can drive, say, from here, where I'm living. I can drive to Northern Ireland. So there's a lot of back roads that will lead into Northern Ireland. You have to remember, we don't actually have. There's not a heavy security presence like there was during the Troubles. No, there's no way it would happen during the Troubles. Everyone was checked everywhere on the border, but on both sides by our armed forces and the British armed forces.
So Ireland has no way to protect themselves from bad actors entering their country? Zero?
Not really, no. We have border checks and flights, obviously, but they're not hard checks. So you could get a ferry, say, from.
But you, as a random Irishman, would not have your papers checked functionally to go into Northern Ireland. You can just drive there, right?
I can drive there. There's back roads you could take and go and just pop the border, as they say. There's no problem. No, obviously, if I go from, say, from the south, if I go from Dublin, get the train in Dublin to Belfast, I can get checked. We can get checked for our passports. But if I go from Belfast down to Dublin, there's no one to check us. Well, you make it a random border check every now and again, but very rarely.
So what is the Irish government doing to ensure the safety of Irish people by ensuring that bad actors don't enter into the Republic of Ireland?
Background checks, apparently. Background checks and interviews.
Didn't you just say that people aren't checked from Belfast South? If they're not checked from Belfast South.
But here's the funny: when they arrive in Dublin, they can go up to any government office and they can apply for asylum.
Any public office of any kind, they can just.
Oh yeah, they can say to a member, they can just say, "I lost my papers. I'm fleeing war." There's 1,000 different ways of excuses then they can go into the asylum system.
And that's paid for by Irish taxpayers?
A lot of it is paid by the UN, but a lot of it, but most of the administration side and the paperwork and the policing side is paid in by us and the Irish government. Yes.
And then where's the UN getting the money to administer this or to give you funds?
The G7 countries. That's where a lot of the UN funding comes from.
So the UN Refugee Fund that isn't UNRWA?
Yes.
Okay. Wow. So there's nobody getting checked, and they can come down in there and they can go ahead and use Irish resources, and there's no way to protect
once
against
they go into that system. Yeah, once they go into that system, there's a lot of there's a background check done as best the Gardaí can do. There's interviews then by our state, what the Americans would refer to as, we call the Department of Foreign Affairs
Okay.
and Immigration. They would interview would-be asylum seekers, but
Okay.
they could be sitting in the asylum system. Some could be interviewed 2 months down the line. Some could be interviewed 10 years down the line. They're still in the system.
Okay.
But once in that system, they can apply for work permits and they can work, or they can apply for all different benefits as well. They get medical card system, the whole lot. And if they're in the system long enough, they can end up paying tax. They can also apply for social housing, and there's other systems in kick in as well.
Got it. All right. So
Yeah.
that is Sinn Féin, followed by the Labour Party.
Labour.
Right, that was
And this is
Labour.
yeah, don't forget the Social Democrats. They're there as well.
Oh, here they are.
Yeah,
Social
I always
Democrats.
liked I always liked the Social Democrats. They're probably the most centrist party you'll come across. They're very centrist. So
So Ireland
they
first.
wouldn't describe themselves. Depends on what way the wind blows. They're kind of a mixed bag of policies.
But why isn't every party that you have Ireland first? Why isn't that the focus?
We'll be getting there soon enough. So,
okay.
Hold your horses. We have more than we have a lot of different parties. As I said, we have flavor for everyone. A lot of the political parties are not going to really like me saying that. But we definitely do have the Social Democrats. Their main policies have always been find a reasonable answer to most problems. Is probably the best way.
Okay.
That's one thing I like about the Social Democrats. They sit down and look at a situation logically. A lot of ways. A very centrist party. Now they can be reactionary at the time. Sometimes they can be reactionary, but I find them that they know that they should be only a certain amount of houses can only be affordable at the time. They understand the housing crisis better than any other party. They understand that if there's 40,000 houses, for instance, built a year in the marketplace, at least 25 to 50% of those houses should be affordable housing. So that the normal working class can afford it. You know, they're a very centrist party. They're common sense.
Okay. Let us see. Who are your TDs?
Also, they're very much about, yes, a landlord should make a profit, but it should be affordable profit. You know what I mean? Not a store. You know, little common sense down to our policies. They're I always describe them as a centrist party. They describe themselves as centrist as well.
Let's see, we have 3, 6, 9, 12, 14. There you go.
No, they have 10. They have 10 at the moment. They got 10 elected. Or you're looking at they also have mixed in a few more their people there. But they're as I said, they're nice. I won't say they're nice. They're nice enough, pleasant people. I've met a few of them over the years in person. Social Democrats. It always struck me as just nice, pleasant people. You know what I mean? Not too extreme.
Got
you know
it.
what I mean?
So senator means in Shanad, not Dolarn?
Yeah. Senator then would be in the upper house. Yeah.
Okay.
Shanad.
Okay, so councillor.
Councillors then would be the local government.
Got it. So we have 3 councillors. Shanad, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's 8 of the TDs. Are Sean O'Callaghan and Howard Carnes
leader? Yeah, they're also TDs. So you have 10 TDs in total.
Okay. Well, there you go. We got 3 in the lower
houses.
They did
quite well, actually, Social Democrats. They've done quite well for themselves. They're pretty popular. They're not as I said, they're a very centrist party is the best way to describe them. Social Democrats. They're always the kind of they're very pro-European, very pro-business. They're, as I said, they talk a lot of sense on different issues. They understand that issues are not very black and white. There has to be a middle ground found in a lot of ways. And if you know what I mean. As I said, they're quite interesting party. They've been around for a hot minute. They've been around for the last 10 years, so they've been around a while. Then the next up is People for Profit. You have those guys there.
Yes, sir.
Now, the People for Profit are, like I said, they're quite interesting. They've been around for a while. The People for Profit solidarity is the best word. They're a very, very they were founded about 10 years ago as well, roughly. You will find a lot of the newer parties are founded about that time. The People for Profit they're very, as you can see going through, they're very, very left leaning. They're very, save the planet. The typical you can see that as you scroll through there, you can see the typical haven't found a cause I don't like. Yeah, they're interesting. They're I've seen them in interviews over the years, and they're very interesting. Yeah, they have two TDs. They have a couple of TDs at the moment. The three TDs, they're quite interesting.
That is an interesting expression they're using there. Do you see that right there?
Yeah, I said they
Trump
would be.
plans for
I would.
ethnic cleansing of. Wow. Okay.
Yeah, that wouldn't be one of my favorite parties in the world. They're very. Yeah, they flip flop quite a lot. Any left leaning cause, they're usually the first ones on it.
Okay. So let me see here. Yeah, I'm actually interested in what the People for Profit have to say about no more threats, face down Trump.
Okay, let's have a look at that. So,
Yeah, we're gonna have to sidebar. We're gonna have to go. Okay. So Trump's latest threat that all hell will break out if Hamas does not release all hostages by noon on Saturday. If the rhetoric is the rhetoric of an imperial bully. I have a question for you, Patrick.
yes.
Let's say you and your wife,
Okay.
your
Right.
brother, your 4 kids, and your dog are all in the house, right?
Mm-hmm.
And someone comes and steals your brother, 3 of your children, and your dog. And they take them away and they say, you are going to adhere to the things that I say, or I will not give you back your brother, your dog, or your 3 children.
Me personally, what would I say? I would fight for it.
You would fight for it, right?
Yeah, I think any most normal rational people would.
Okay. Well, so then
Deep down,
deep down.
But you have to remember, people for profit have 3 TDs, but deep down, behind closed doors, and they were in the same position, and push came to shove, 90% of them would fight.
I think this is a door problem, right?
See, as I say, it's very easy for us in the West to throw stones at others until we were put in that position ourselves.
Right, because we haven't. So the question is, where do you put the door? Where do you put the door?
That's
right. So in our little scenario here, you're in your house with your brother, your wife, your 4 kids, and your dog, right? So when is it okay for someone to come through your door into your house and violate you in a way they desire, right?
Yeah.
Do you put that door on? Do you put it at the line for the city, the city line, the town line, right?
Yeah.
You put it at the county line.
Yeah. Where does that?
Do you put it? Where do you put that line, right? Where is it?
Yeah.
Where is it an inviolable space, right?
That's true.
So I don't think that addresses and the terminology they're using. Where's the other one that they said? Trump plans for ethnic cleansing of Gaza. I don't think that they know what ethnic cleansing is.
As I said,
Because
people for profit are, yeah, they're very.
but for there to be an ethnic
You would
cleanse, that
classify
means
them
that
as a fringe party.
there would be less people of Palestinian descent in Gaza than previous, right? That's what that means, right? So ethnic cleansing requires the number of people in the population to reduce, except since October 7th, the number has actually gotten larger. So I don't know what ethnicity is being cleansed here. I don't know. Sometimes
As I said, they're tiny little party, 3 seats.
Right, but
As I said,
cancer starts out small as
jump
well,
on
right?
Yeah, I remember people for profit when they were formed. As I say, I'm old enough to remember when these guys were formed. Richard Boyd Barrett and the rest of them. And the funny thing is, anytime they're pushed on any issue, any interview I've ever seen them pushed on any issue, they just have the same talking points. They have no. So if you talk to a protester in the States and talk to the people for profit, they all are singing off the same hymn sheet. A lot of issues. A lot of different. I find that with a lot of parties like people for profit, they all sing off the same hymn sheet. You know what their bullet points are going to be? Time.
But we don't have
One
to
time it was
present
climate change.
right. We don't have to present
One time
anything
it
of
was climate.
evidentiary value. We just present an emotionally
Oh no.
charged argument, and that's going to be enough.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah, that's what they normally do. Like that's the funny thing is they are very much a very left-leaning party.
Yeah, if we get an opportunity, I would love to interview any of them, counselor, TD, any of them, to push their points forward so we can discuss them in an open, honest, and logical discourse. Like I'm ready for it. Any of them tell me what you think. What's going down? Why do you believe the thing you believe?
I think it would be very interesting actually to interview one of the people for profits. Actually, would be interesting to interview one of them.
Well, here's an open invite to anybody in People Before Profit. I would love to interview. Alex Johansson and Patrick McCallum would love to have you in studio and chat with you. That would be amazing.
Now, do you know who did very, very well? Who did well better? The next party up would be Independent Ireland. You click on them there.
Here
so
they
Independent
are.
Ireland.
They have 4 TDs. Looks like.
Yeah, they have more. They have more TDs than, as I said, People for Profit. I think People for Profit. As I said, they do okay, but they're only 3 seats. Where Independent Ireland came out. Now they're quite interesting in Independent Ireland.
Why does Richard O'Donoghue look like Mr. Bean?
By the way, this party has been only formed since November 2023. So they're only around a very short time.
Why does Richard O'Donoghue look like Mr. Bean? Why does he look like Rowan Atkins? Michael Fitzmaurice, Michael Collins, Mr. Bean, Ken O'Flynn.
Yeah.
Hey, didn't you tell me that they're
quite interesting.
You met Mr. O'Flynn?
Yeah, I met him in passing one time when I was in Dublin.
Oh, there you go.
Yep.
Looks like he might be from your neck of the woods too, there, bud.
Yeah. Yeah.
There you go.
No.
What is
you can see their manifesto there. As I said, they're a very young party. Only around since 2023.
Well, apparently they are tackling government waste, mismanagement, and overspend. Government spending of 11.4 billion euros of taxpayers' money on just 4 areas. Non-governmental organizations, Ukraine funding, IPASS, direct provision foreign aid, and HSE overspend.
Yeah. They're very young, hungry party, actually. Well, a lot of their members are pretty they've got a lot of young people behind them, but so they're tackling a lot of issues. They kind of surprised a lot of people that they got 4 TDs, actually. They surprised quite a few people.
Well, housing, cost of living, and immigration look like 3 major things they should be addressing.
Yeah.
Agriculture and marine health, environment. I mean, those 6 things are going to really, really excite people to maybe do the right thing and protect the borders, reduce the cost of living, and make sure that you can get a house. Apparently,
Yeah.
it is the new era
Well,
of
the policies are
reform,
quite
accountability, and common sense politics.
basically, yeah, bring it back to basics, as they say.
I'm actually going to read this. This looks pretty interesting. There is an appetite
Yeah.
for real political change in Ireland. Many people feel underrepresented and feel politically homeless as a result of the established political parties appearing to ignore their concerns on many issues. As a nation, we face numerous long-standing and critical challenges, crises in housing and healthcare combined with new challenges, such as the rising cost of living, immigration pressures, and a green agenda that disproportionately targets our agricultural sector, have left many in Middle Ireland feeling disillusioned. This is in spite of the fact that Ireland's agricultural industry is among the most sustainable and environmentally friendly in the world. In response to these issues, the people are seeking a political party grounded in practicality and fairness. Independent Ireland offers that common sense solution. All right.
Yeah. As I said, they're a young party.
Sounds
They did
reasonable to
quite well.
me.
Yeah.
Sounds reasonable to me.
Affordable housing, law and order.
What?
So the next 3 or 4 years will be very interesting to see how their support grows. They're definitely a party you keep an eye on. They really popped out of nowhere in less than a year. They did quite well themselves. Just over a year, 14 months old. They did quite well. And 4 TDs. They say, you see other parties have been around for 10 plus years. Didn't get the numbers they got.
Well, they are also
That's
invited to come
that's-
onto the A&P and put out what they got, and I would love to have them.
Yeah.
Even Mr.
Yeah.
Bean there, Mr. O'Donoghue. I'm sure he'd be.
Yeah, whatever you do, don't say that.
I'll be respectful. I'll be respectful. He looks like Rowan, bro.
Well, as I
What are you
said,
gonna do? He looks like Rowan. Come on now.
Yeah. As I said, I've seen a lot of. I've seen these 4 guys being interviewed over the last while in the last election. When they're on the road, as they say, and they're quite an interesting bunch. Quite an interesting bunch. Very much about common sense, back to basics, politics. People they're being laboured far right by certain, well, Fine Gael, Fianna Fáil, the standard parties, call them far right. I think they're quite worried that their position of power might be finally be challenged in the next couple of years. Interesting to see where they go in the next election, actually.
Well,
I won't be
Fitzmaurice
surprised
was
if
in
they
a different
double their
party
numbers.
because he was elected to the Dáil Éireann in 2014. Michael Collins has been in the Dáil Éireann since 2016.
Yeah.
O'Donoghue's been in since 2020. Right, they were in other parties
of
before because they were in
reforms
Dáil Éireann. Yeah.
Yeah, they were all in different parties before. Because I think a lot of people, the last couple of years especially, have got a bit disillusioned with the same standard Fine Gael, Fianna Fáil, shuffle the seats around coalitions in the last couple of years.
Right, but these 6 things look super reasonable. These look like all the things that you should be concerned about as a society.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
And none of the other parties I've seen have put this together this way. And all the things I've clicked on have worked, so that's pretty good.
You're not going to let Fianna Fáil forget about that, are you?
Oh, they Fianna failed, bro. They Fianna failed.
Yeah,
like
the largest party in the country, the website doesn't quite up to snuff, as they say. Maybe we should send them a donation to hire a web designer.
Oh, they can contact us. We'll help them with their web. Fianna Fail, if you need it, we got you. We will help you with your website. Make sure your broken links aren't broken. Or maybe
we'll send you a step-by-step guide.
Right, there you go. Or they can just holler at the Independent Ireland people to help them out. Yeah. That'd be great.
Or even ask Fine Gael. They're Fine Gael.
Well, maybe they can even ask Sinn Féin. Sinn Féin would love for all their links to be appropriately connected, right?
Nice. Yeah, that'd be an interesting conversation.
Can you help us with our website?
Michael Martin going over to Mary Lou and asking her, any chance you could fix us? We need a bit of IT work done.
Nice. All right.
We'll buy you a few points afterwards.
There you go, right? You scratch my back. Hey.
I could see Mary Lou's face right now with that one.
Nice. So on to.
Yeah, they're another interesting party. Very, very interesting party. They're a young enough party as well in Irish politics terms. They were founded in January 2019. As I said, they did okay. They normally tip away. They normally have 1 or 2 seats since then. They have 2 seats at the moment and 2 elected TDs.
Do
Quite
they
an
have anybody in
interesting
the
party.
Shinod?
No, not at the moment. They're a very, very far right party. They're as far right as you're going to get. They're more far right to say Independent Ireland. I've seen them over the years, been interviewed. They're very much about hard border, leaving Europe over the years. That's their policy. Our people, our future is very much who they are. Yeah, they have managed to get a senator recently elected. All right, just double checking there. Yeah, they managed to get a senator recently elected. She was but still they're very much on the. They'll be like people for profit. Very much. It's unfair to classify them as a fringe party, but they're there. So they bring interesting point of views to the table, but that's the nature of democracy. Everyone has to have an opinion.
Right, but it looks like they're exactly 180 degrees from people for profit, right?
Yeah.
It looks like people
people
for profit.
Yeah.
People for profit want to give everybody a hug, and these folks want to give everybody a boot, right? The Irish political system is radically broken. In Ireland, the vast majority of elected representatives put a finger in the air to check the way of political wind is blowing. Yeah, I mean, they're just.
But
are they? They're not wrong though. They're not wrong.
Yeah, they're not wrong. They sound well, but I say the way they would go about it would be very much. Yeah, I could kind of guess what the way they would go about it, how they would fix things.
They're a bit aggressive.
Just judge it by their being interviewed over the years. They're as you put it very well there. There's people for profit, and then there's these guys with the polar opposite.
And then you got Independent Ireland in the middle. The Social Democrats are fairly reasonable, and then none of them have enough power to affect change. They just don't.
No.
So then you have to pretend, you have to depend on Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael and so Fianna Fáil, Fine Gael, Sinn Féin, and Labour with all of those seats to. So how do you influence those seats? How do you influence those people with the smaller parties?
Well, to be honest, the smaller parties, I think, especially Independent Ireland, they're only not even 14 months and they managed to get 4 TDs. I think people are looking for change in a lot of ways, I'll be honest. The amount of independence we have.
Is it the swing votes? I mean, if Independent Ireland or even people before profit or onto could get those straight up independents to, put their flag in the ground and say, I'm going to stand for this, but I don't know the personalities of the people.
As I said, it'd be very hard to break the overall your numbers of Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael.
Right, but didn't you say Fine Gael and Fianna Fáil and Sinn Féin, aren't they the 3 who are involved in the treaty process if that treaty is going to be adjusted as well?
Oh, you're talking about in Northern Ireland?
Yes.
Are you talking about yes. Oh, you're okay. I'm with the Good Friday Agreement. Right. That Sinn Féin in the south and Sinn Féin in the north.
Mm-hmm.
Same party, 2 different negotiations. Well, there would be a 1 negotiation team with Sinn Féin, Unions, and so on in Northern Ireland. At this moment, it'd be Fianna Fáil, Fine Gael would be the government that we have would be doing that negotiation. So it would be interesting to see that in the next couple of years. But I say that's a bit of a while. But as I say, when we're covering the troubles in the one of the episodes, I will go over all that as well.
Right. That's
so
next.
Look forward to.
That's going to be next week. We'll do that next week. So.
Yeah.
Yep. Next episode is going to be reactions and fun, and then one after that, we'll get back into some more Irish politics. After that, then we'll get into some American politics, which is another kind of shit show.
Actually, yeah, I'm quite interested to see the way you kind of break down with a 2-party system. Quite interesting.
Well,
at least we have a lot of color in our politics. We have a lot of different parties.
Which is, well, the thing that I don't like is that the combination of things doesn't seem reasonable, right? So
Yeah.
the blue versus red thing, the blue guys like this and the red guys like that, and right, it sometimes you don't align across the board with
Yeah.
with what the policies are, you know. So,
Yes. Yes.
but it looks like in
It
Ireland
would,
you can pick a group that just thinks pretty much like you think. I like it.
yeah, as I said, as a flavor for everybody in the audience. You know,
I like mint
if you're
chocolate
very
chip.
left
You
leaning,
might
you want
like
a party. If you're
pistachio.
very right leaning, yeah, yeah, yeah. There's a flavor for everyone.
I like it. All right. So, in
Yeah.
conclusion,
As I
we
said,
went
there was a
over
nice.
the Shinod and the Dolarn. Prime
Yes, the houses
Minister,
of the Oireachtas. Yes,
yes, and then we
yeah.
went over Fianna Fáil, Fianna Fáil. Oh, I'm going to screw that up. Fianna Fáil, Fine Gael, Sinn Féin, Labour,
Yes, yeah.
Social
Social
Democrats,
Democrats.
People for
Yeah,
Profit, Independent Ireland. All right,
yeah.
and then on to, so as far as what is a counselor? Because I've seen a lot of counselors. So what is a counselor? Where would a counselor be, and what would their function be?
So think of a county.
Okay, say
The county
Meath
will be
or
split into
Cork or
different
Mayo.
regions.
Okay,
Yeah, yeah. Cork West, Cork East. So they would have their own county councillor. They would have a local body council to oversee their roads and local infrastructure.
okay. So the county would have counselors, and the counselors would represent a smaller section like Cork North or
Yes,
Ulster South or whatever.
yeah, they would represent a small little county.
Okay, so
So
what about
that would be really down to grassroots
what county
politics.
is Dublin in?
They'd be County Dublin County Council, the more
So
powerful.
Dublin's its own
So they'd
county?
be,
It's a city and a county?
yeah, yes.
Okay. Does the city itself have a mayor or
Oh,
some other entity like
yes,
that?
they would. Yeah, Dublin City
Okay.
County Council would have a mayor.
Okay.
So he'd be the mayor of every city would have a mayor
Or
in
she,
Ireland.
he or she, Patrick,
Or she, yeah.
or she. English has
Yeah,
changed.
they would have a mayor.
It used to be he
Yeah.
was everybody, but now we have to say he or she. I don't want to disrespect folks out here. I think we just say shim
So
or something.
yeah, so we as I said, we have a lot. As I say, a lot of county councils all over Ireland, and they do a pretty good job over. I think they personally they do a pretty good job of managing our road infrastructure for the most part. We have a massive road infrastructure, and then you know they would handle. Say if you're building a house, you go to your local county council office and you apply for planning permission and so on. They handle a lot of the grassroots politics.
Okay.
So the TD then would be above them. They'd
Okay.
be more representing an area. A TD then would represent anywhere between 20 to 30,000 people. So under our constitution, then a TD has to be a minimum of one member per between 20 and 30,000.
Okay. And
So
are
that's the
those
way it's
citizens
split.
or are those people?
People, citizens,
Citizens
registered
only.
people.
Registers. What about asylum seekers? Do they get representation in that fashion?
If they're a taxpayer in Ireland, it's been a very interesting debate there. Should they or shouldn't they get a vote?
So should
Well, you can
non-citizens
kind of guess.
vote in your elections? Is that the
I
question?
personally don't. Yeah, I personally, unless you're an Irish citizen, you shouldn't be allowed to vote. Full stop in any of our elections. That's always been
Wow.
the way. More.
That's
That's
controversial,
always been the way.
Patrick. That's
I know. I think
controversial.
it's well. If they become Irish citizens, they can vote. They can all the rights of me, you, or anyone else who lives in Ireland. But you have to have a line, as you say, a line. I presume it's the same in the States. That I couldn't just live in the United States with my Irish passport and vote in your elections, could I?
No. So the census works like this. There's X amount of people, and all of those people are represented by an elected official. Right? Citizen or not citizen, all of the people in an area are represented.
Yes.
But only those who are citizens can vote. but all the people in an area
Yes.
are represented by a representative.
Yes. But
Right.
obviously, there's always going to be that debate in every Western country. I think every Western country is always going to have that debate. Should non-citizens vote in their elections? And as I say, you have to draw a line somewhere in the sand. I think the easiest one is
No, it
if you're
shouldn't be a
not
line in the
Irish
sand. It
citizen
should
or
be a hard line. If you're not a citizen, you don't
hard
vote.
line,
Hard line.
vote.
Yeah. But how do you
Pretty
preserve
simple.
culture if you have those who fail to assimilate and choose not to assimilate are allowed to vote in your election for whatever reason? Right? Why do you even have them
Yes.
in your space? If they're there to cause disruption and destruction, then having them vote isn't going to help you in any way. It
Yeah.
can't, because they're going to vote for the thing that is in their own interest, not in the interest of the country or the culture. They're going to vote in a way that
Represents their interests
right.
and culture.
Mhm.
Yeah. It's as I say, a lot of Western countries at the moment are really struggling with this particular issue, not just in Ireland, but all across Europe.
Well, United States as well. I'm sure Australia's got some of the same issues as well. New Zealand,
Yeah,
all
I
of it.
think
Yeah.
most Western countries are having that issue at the moment. It's a very interesting debate that I think
Have you ever seen
Lynn's
Roadhouse with Patrick Swayze?
years ago. I actually remember that. Oh wow, that brings back memories.
He
I
said
actually
a
remember
thing in that
watching that on
movie
the VA.
where there's a time to be nice and there's a time to not be nice. This is one of those things that you
Mm,
shouldn't be nice about. Like there shouldn't be any question on it, right?
yeah,
And you guys are running into a problem where your culture is being so severely diluted. Ireland's not going to look like Ireland in 20 years, right? If you're going from 80% to conceivably 75% Irish people in Ireland, right? And you said
yeah,
before, that's the question. When is Ireland no longer Ireland and just a conglomerate of a bunch of people who have moved here because we can't protect our borders because our government isn't representing the interests of the people? There should be a
yes.
hard border, and you should say, are you a citizen? No. Okay, you're not allowed entry. And then there should be
Mm,
ports of entry where you can seek asylum. You shouldn't be able to take a bus down to Cork from Belfast and say, hey, government official, I'm seeking asylum. Like, there should be an appropriate spot for that at a port of entry. 100%.
yeah,
Right? And the reason that they just come across that border is because, unlike the UK, right, where they take the boats over, and as soon as you put up a hard line, as soon as you put up a wall, then they're just going to take boats into
mm,
Ireland, and you're going to have the same problem that the UK does, right?
yeah,
And the thing is, it's a
yeah.
26-mile trip across that channel. They could stop
Yes,
that. They could stop it. They could say
like
no.
under the UN, you can claim asylum in the first port of call. There is no direct flight from Africa, for instance, or the Middle East to Ireland. You have to stop at some European country along the way before you land in our borders. They've, that's the problem with a lot of our local elected officials. They don't want to say that the emperor has no clothes. They don't want to turn around and say France, for instance, or Britain or Belgium. These 10 people arrived on a flight from your country with no documentation. How did they get on that flight?
Send them back.
For instance, I'm just going to use that.
Right. You
Yeah.
send them back.
When I send, yeah, just put them on a plane back. But we just don't want to be seen as dark European country. We're tripping over ourselves to be best in class when it comes to Europe. So,
You need to be the most culturally strong.
yeah, well, it is. There is, as you can see, independent Ireland, less than just over a year old at 4 TDs. First time out the gate.
Yeah. Well, I wish them the best of luck.
Yeah,
Yeah, of all of those
yeah.
that we talked about and that I read, I like Independent Ireland the most, and I like Onto the second most,
Mm.
but I don't know. So here is the canary in the coal mine, right?
Yeah.
Which of these parties is anti-Semitic?
I be I be honest with you, and that conversations hasn't come up in a long time in Ireland. A long time. We, I know dance around the issue. I know our previous government and as well as this government have formally recognized Gaza as a country. Ourselves, Spain, and so on. It's one of those issues. You have to remember, in Ireland, we have especially our government has a tendency to jump on every cause. We jumped on the Syrian crisis that time, jumped on the Ukrainian crisis. Now we're jumping on the Gaza crisis. So it seems to be that we're jumping on every issue around the world except our own, which I would say it irritates quite a lot of people living in Ireland. They don't openly, as they said, openly say it. When you're sitting inside in a local bar and there's a few beers involved, as they say, when you just listen to people, a lot of people are saying, why don't we just look after ourselves first? Why are we getting involved everywhere in the world?
So who do they recognize in Gaza as the government of Gaza? What entity did they recognize?
Yeah.
Do you know?
Their general statement is, they're going to generally recognize Gaza as a formal state, but they don't realize that formal state is led by Hamas. They do realize it, but they don't realize it openly or say it openly.
But don't you have to pay credence to that? If an entity is in charge of a place, then they're the government that's in charge. So that would mean that an entity that is saying that Gaza is its own nation is then in fact saying that I support Hamas, right? You would have to.
Yeah. One is representative of the other. It's pretty much common sense.
Right. And even today,
as I say,
Hamas would get elected again in Gaza by the Gazan people, which means they choose to have those individuals be in charge, which means what you're saying is that the people that enacted the October 7th atrocities should be the ones that we support as an Irish government and as an Irish people.
Well, as I say, I don't vote Fine Gael or Fianna Fáil, but the problem is we have a tendency in Ireland to find especially our government, we jump on a lot of different issues. We have over the years a lot of issues. I think this is one issue that their heart is in the right place, but their head isn't.
Right. The reality of the situation is that the world is a very, very harsh place, right? It's a harsh place.
Yes. And they have to recognize also that the issue in the Middle East is a lot older than our state. It goes back a long time, long before us,
right.
Even before Ireland was Ireland. There's a lot of old history there, a lot of ancient conflicts. And I think Jordan Peterson put it very well. Tidy your own room where you lecture the world.
Yeah.
And I think we should look after our own issues in Ireland before we start looking after everyone else.
I think your culture should stop being diluted. I want Ireland to be Ireland like everybody who lives in Ireland, who's a citizen of Ireland wants Ireland to be Ireland.
Yeah, I understand it. Don't get me wrong.
And we'll discuss the troubles and all that, but I also think that Northern Ireland should be part of the Republic of Ireland.
And eventually it will. That's going to happen eventually. I think a lot sooner than people think, I'll be honest. Especially thanks to a lot of external issues like Brexit and so on. But as I said, we'll discuss that when we get onto the Troubles episode.
Right. For sure.
But as I say, I think Ireland definitely needs to back, look at our own internal matters before we start getting more involved in the world stage again. I understand we have to get involved, but we should fix our own problems. Like we have 100,000 plus people homeless in Ireland. We have a massive rent increase over the last 2 years, where more and more young people never move forward to the next stage of life of buying their own house, renting their own place, starting a family. More and more people are getting priced out of that first step and the most important step in life. More than previous generations. It's probably not just us, but most of the Western world is having a massive housing issue.
Right. The United States in 1971, the dollar was as strong as it ever was. It is now worth approximately 19 cents of what it was worth in 1971.
Yeah.
And the only thing keeping us afloat is the petrodollar. That's why we can even have that that strength that we have at less than 20% of what the dollar used to be worth. Buying a house in the United States is insane, like it's insane everywhere else in every other G7 country.
Yeah.
Look at Canada. Canada is
crazy.
Screwed. Their boy Justin Trudeau said, I resign, and then he just prorogated the government. I'm like, that's not a resignation. That's an attempt to reorganize your party after X amount of time. And I was hoping they'd take the example from the British Parliament when Boris Johnson attempted to shut down the government for a period of weeks between when Brexit was voted for and when it was going to be enacted. And the parliamentarian said, absolutely not. You've got to face the music. Because the only reason he prorogated was to avoid negative consequences, because they didn't want to trigger an election because he wouldn't win, Polyev would win. And I don't know what he's going to do with Jagmeet Singh and how he's going to get that organized, right? Like that's
going to be very interesting as well.
Yeah, that's another social democratic party, right? The NDP, right?
Yeah.
So
yes, there's as I say, where we have very similar politics between England and Ireland.
And we're definitely going to have a Canada episode. I'll get one of my buddies from Ontario, and he'll put some stank on it for you. He'll let you know what's really going on, because I'm really interested. So I realized that Canada was having a horrible issue when C-16 passed. You guys want to look up Bill C-16? That's another one that Jordan Peterson spoke out against, right? It's the violation of free speech. Yeah. So.
Yes, and that's how actually Jordan Peterson made it. Remember, he made his famous speech at him.
He did.
Remember that?
Yep. So, all right, you got anything in closing, Patrick?
So, what do you think yourself
of Ireland?
Of our different parties? Yeah, of all our different parties.
Dog. Like I said, I like independent Ireland. The attempt to maintain culture. The people before profits seem a little out there. I like Onto, but I think Onto. I would have to look into it, but it doesn't look like they're right-leaning. What it says in their thing is, you all are being irresponsible. We need to fix our house first. It's a great message.
By your own.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a great message.
Your own bit.
But Fine Gael and Fianna Fáil. Go ahead.
As I say, clean your own room before you lecture the world.
Right.
Peterson would say.
But so Fine Gael, Fianna Fáil, and Sinn Féin, like they feel like oatmeal, right? They just feel super bland. Right? Super bland.
They're very, very, very straight-laced, yes. Straight-laced.
We used to be the fiery Irish. Now we're oatmeal. Get out of here.
Yeah, Fianna Fáil Fianna Fáil classifies themselves as the Republican Party as well.
I have my doubts.
Which is kind of ironic in a lot of ways.
I have my doubts.
Yeah, I like Fine Gael. They're just, I don't know, they're very straight laced. They got Simon there now in charge. Simon Harris, what a jolly old fella. You know, he's a bit confused sometimes, but God bless him. By the way, I do actually take the mick out of Fine Gael quite a lot, actually, myself. Sinn Féin, as I say, they're Sinn Féin. They got Mary Lou in charge.
You know, at the end of the day, I just want what's best for the Irish people, bro. That's really what I want. I want your culture to survive. I really do. But you guys are heading down the well real fast. So super worried about y'all.
Yeah, but it is.
Maybe we can affect change.
Overall, especially when it comes to our language.
Go ahead, Patrick.
Especially when it comes to our own language and culture, you see it being diluted more and more in the last couple of years.
Yep, it's not getting better, right?
No, it's not. Not.
All right, that is going to conclude episode 2 of the A&P. Patrick, thank you so much for logical discussions.
I hope you enjoyed that, lads. As I say, if you have any questions or anything you want to know, just drop in the comments down below. All the links will be included down below.
Thank you for a logical discussion about the state of the world today, Patrick. Catch you up on episode 3, which is going to be reactions. Episode 4, we're going to go into the troubles. Episode 5 is going to be American governance. I know y'all can't wait.
That sounds interesting.
It's real and it's fun, but let me tell you, It's not real fun. All right, we're signing off.